welcome to the Fan of History. Today we're going to talk about the 980s BC. First, my disclaimer: I'm not an historian, I'm not a scientist, I'm just a fan of history. And I'm from Sweden, so thus my accent is weird, and I don't speak English as my native language, so I hope you understand me. These are the decade reports of the 10th century BC, and there will be one for each decade. This is a very long time ago, 3,000 years ago, and the sources are uncertain. The dating is uncertain, and everything is uncertain. So I have been forced to make a lot of decisions, which I have done. Before you watch this video, please watch the great civilizations of the world in 1000 BC and events of the 990s BC as the story continues in this show. So, let's talk about Babylon. We haven't mentioned Babylon before, and we will not mention Babylon all the time because Babylon is really, really small and is in a dark age. After the Bronze Age collapse, there is a period of 300 years where the Babylonians keep very little records, and they are the masters of record keeping. So this is strange. This is quite an accurate map of the situation right now. Babylonia is confined to its heartland, and Assyria is also very, very small in the 980s BC. In 987 BC, and now I will try to pronounce Babylonian names, so please forgive me for this. In 987 BC, Eolmas Sakin Sumi dies. He was the founder of the 6th Dynasty of Babylon, also known as the Bit-Basi dynasty. He's Kassite. The Kassites are people that have dominated Babylon for quite some time. They come back, and Babylon's history is very, very long, but the Kassites are important. And this is a tribal group of the Kassite known as the Bit-Basi. And this guy, Eolmas Sakin Sumi, who ruled this very, very small kingdom, had a fantastic title. He was the Tsar Kisati, the king of the world. And he's succeeded by Ninurta-Kudurri-Usur. So, this guy, Ninurta-Kudurri-Usur, has an interesting historical source that I figured I would mention. He is one of his successors, Nabu-Mukin-Apli, whom you may or may not mention, begins his records with a recollection of earlier legal documents from Kar-Marduk, which is the capital. I think it's located pretty close to here. Not sure though. And he says that there's a record from the reign of Ninurta-Kudurri-Usur where a guy has killed a female slave of a bowmaker, and he kills her with an arrow. So Ninurta-Kudurri-Usur has to pronounce judgment, and he says that the guy who killed the slave has to give 7 slaves for compensation. And the whole process was witnessed by 7 high-ranking witnesses, of whom 3 were Kassites. And this is preserved today. So that's Babylonian justice in the 980s BC. In Egypt, Assur the Elder, this Libyan guy, dies, and Siamun becomes pharaoh. Siamun is one of the most powerful rulers of the 21st dynasty. And he reigns from 986 to 967, although the dates are of course contested. As you may remember, Egypt is split. There is a power center in the north, and there is a power center in the south. The high priest of Amun rules Upper Egypt, that is the south. And Assur rules the north, the delta. And the mummy of Amenemope, I can't get away from that guy, Amenemope, who died in last episode. His mummy is moved during the reign of Siamun, probably by Smendes II. And this is part of an effort of work that the high priests do in the Valley of the Kings. And you can probably imagine different reasons for this. One of the reasons would be to plunder the tombs to finance stuff. And some historians says that this was the reason. But Egyptians were pretty sensitive about robbing tombs. And I can't see a high priest of Amun robbing tombs. But he did move mummies, so he figured that the tombs were not safe and the mummies had to be moved. So there are like caches of mummies where several mummies are put in one very secure tomb, a new tomb. So you will find some of these caches. We'll probably talk about them later as well. There are some building projects going on in Lower Egypt. This is in the twilight of the era of the pharaohs. The pharaohs has been going for a long time, but there's still stuff happening in Egypt. Stuff is being built either by Smendes or Siamun. Siamun also looks around him, looks at the neighboring countries. He looks at the Levant, which is always very interesting for late Egyptian pharaohs. And we will talk more about that in coming episodes. The relationship between Siamun and Osorkon is very unclear, and we don't really even know if Siamun was an Egyptian or if he was a Libyan that was related to the Libyan Osorkon. I think most historians think that Siamun is a return to Egyptian pharaohs, but you will soon see the 22nd dynasty, which is a line of all Libyan emperors. Pharaohs. Back to Babylonia. In 985 BC, our guy Ninurta-Kudurri-Usur dies, and is succeeded by his brother Sirikti-Sukamuna. But Sirikti-Sukamuna will only rule for 3 months. And Babylon is very, very small and maybe not that interesting for our story at the time. But Babylon will become interesting. Look at this map. This is what Babylon will look like in, 370 years. So I might mention the kings of Babylon most often when they get their ass kicked by somebody else, but we will talk about one more king after Sirikti-Sukamuna very soon. So, what's happening in Europe during this time? You know Europe, the very important place? Well, the Urnfield culture is happening, and if you want to, I might talk about the Urnfield culture in another episode here. So let me know if you want to know more about them. We don't know any dates of anything, and I just wanted to mention the Sami to the very, very north here, because I've written a book, a fantasy book though, but it's a book about Sami and their culture. And the Sami are still around in North Sweden, so just wanted to mention that. In 984 BC, a guy called Mar-biti-apla-usur is the son of Elam. He rules Elam, the third very, very old country in the Fertile Crescent. So we'll not go into detail on Elam because not much is known. Most sources about Elam talk about Elam from Assyria or Babylonia as point of view. But this guy, Mar-biti-apla-usur, somehow becomes the entire 7th dynasty of Babylon because he goes on to rule Babylon. Somehow he does this, and we don't know why. We don't know what happened to the Bit-Basi dynasty, and we don't know why this guy becomes the king of Babylon. But he's the king of Babylon and the son of Elam for a few years, and actually into the next decade. So Mar-biti-apla-usur does a unique bid for power and seizes Babylon. So what about Elam? Elam is a very, very old kingdom, almost as old as Egypt. Their language is unique. It has no outside source. So that's very rare among languages. I don't know how much of it is preserved, and I don't know if you can read it or not. And this is a very, very dark age of the Elam nation. So it's called the Neo-Elamite I period, and we know very, very little. At times, maybe only in older times, Elam was matriarchal. It was ruled by women. And they have a polytheistic pantheon, as everybody else has. The goddess Kirisha, or Pinikir, is the lead god. So Assyria. This is the Assyrian doomsday clock. And stuff is about to go down in the whole Middle East. But it's not happening yet. There will still be 70 years of Assyria licking its wounds from the Bronze Age collapse, and it's ruled by Ashur-Rabi II. He's going strong, and he's doing his thing, and he's growing Assyria a little. He's securing the borders. He's beating up on the Arameans, but the Neo-Assyrian Empire is still a few years away. Back in China, King Zhao is in command. As you might remember, King Zhao was more interested in rare birds and animals than actually in making war, but he had a lot of competent generals, and the Zhou was very good at fighting. So he was conquering the south around the tributary state of Chu, and I'll show you a map soon. He also campaigns against the eastern barbarians, among them the Quarong, the people of the dog. This is China in 980 BC, containing half of the world's population. This is the province of Chu. It is a tributary state to Chu. Chu is a tributary state to Zhou, and it's ruled by a guy called Xiong Ai in 977 BC, which we will be talking about in next episode. The Zhou themselves come from this area. So India, what's happening there? It's still very early for Kuru and Panchala, and we don't know a lot about it. But Hinduism is happening. The Aryans are Hinduists, and Hinduism is the first of the great world religions that are on the stage. And it will be 400 years before Buddhism appears. Oh, of course, Judaism may or may not be on the stage as well. Sorry about that. Yeah, the Judaism will be the second big world religion, then Buddhism. But in India, Buddhism is the next thing. So I was wondering what makes Hinduism different from other polytheistic religions. Of course, the Vedic texts, but what else? So if you know more about Hinduism and how it differs from polytheism, of the other countries in the world at this time, so let me know and tell me in the comments. In 980 BC, the Bible says that Hiram becomes the king of Tyre, and this picture shows Hiram. Tyre is a Phoenician city on the coast of the Mediterranean, and this picture shows Hiram working on the Temple of Solomon. And the reign of Hiram forced me to take a decision on the Old Testament as an historical source. So I made that decision, and I made a special video about it, so watch it on this YouTube channel. So we are done with the 980s. No, we are not. Actually, great things are happening, I'm sure, in Mexico. But the problem is, as always, we don't know what the Olmecs were doing. They were a great civilization, and I wish we knew more, but we don't. And I will keep mentioning this, just so you don't forget that the Olmecs were the thing in the Americas in this time. So the next episode will be the events of the 970s BC. I've decided to schedule these shows, so I will release this on YouTube on March 31st. The shows will be bi-weekly, because that gives me enough time to research them. I might post other videos on the channel, for example, as the Old Testament thing. You can reach me and discuss the show with me either on Twitter at the Fan of History or on Facebook with facebook.com/fanofhistory. Thank you for watching, and see you on March 31st.